What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. So the market is gapping down and dumping this pre-market session, but the question is, can we hold some key support on Tesla and bounce, or do we end up continuing to reject? Well, on Tesla, we are going to be looking for a very, very big test, and I'm going to break down exactly what's going on. If Tesla manages to bounce and reclaim 390, then there could be an attempt to fill this gap back up to 400. But if Tesla fails at 381, we can't hold 380. Our next target is going to be 374 and then 368. And that's where we have very, very strong resistance becoming support at 368. So make sure you watch these levels. On SPY, there's going to be a very, very big test. Something very interesting is that SPY essentially has this white trend line acting as support where we bounced, and bounced. So we got to hold this support on SPY. If we hold here, we need to get back above 668. If 668 is reclaimed, we're looking for a bounce back up to 672. But if it's the opposite, and if we continue to reject and we lose 663, I think 660 is going to be tested with this lowest right here, and we could be dumping all the way down towards 655. So make sure you watch your levels very closely as we continue to fall. So what do I think is going to happen as time goes on? Let's go over this. There's been a lot of news that Tesla's recalling about 10,500 of its Powerwall 2 home backup battery systems due to the risk of overheating, burns, and fires. And the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission and Tesla said that in a recall notice that the issue was due to a third-party battery cell defect. Not the best of news for Tesla, so they're working on the recall. Now, on top of this, there's been a lot of fear right now involving economic policy. The overall stock market is dumping because of the fear that we just heard the White House say that much of the jobs and inflationary data may not have been collected and may not be released. And there is fear that once again, we might not even get a cut in December as a result of that, right? We had the Fed say some very important things. Before, there was a 94% chance of us getting a cut. Now it's down to 50% due to uncertainty, at least thus far. There are fears about inflation as well. So that's another factor that's worth talking about. We heard this from the San Francisco Fed President, Mary Daly, who was talking about how, once again, we're not as sure right now. Once again, they have to look at the data. Susan Collins from the Fed came out. This is the Boston Federal Reserve president. And she said that absent evidence of a notable labor market deterioration, I would be hesitant to ease policy further, especially given the limited information on inflation due to the government shutdown. That's what we heard from Collins. The market is not sure if we're going to get some kind of cut. There was a 90+% chance before. Now it went down to 53% chance of us getting some kind of cut in December. This is dropping, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Bitcoin also is down about 10%, 10% since we got the Federal Reserve cuts, at least beforehand. So we'll see what happens. Finally, the fear and greed index is currently at extreme fear. That's making up the majority of sentiment. Momentum is at fear right now, so we're going to see what happens as time goes on. The put to call option ratio is at extreme fear, and the VIX is at fear. We're going to see what happens as this continues, so just keep that in mind. Last but not least, the VIX is going to give us some more indicators, so I'll talk about that later on. Let's focus on Tesla stock. It's trying a little rebound right here, but we need to see it get back above 390. I'm hoping we try to get back above that. My best advice would be this. We're going to be really unbiased about this because it's interesting because the market already dumped so much. So are we about to get a bounce? Are we just about to continue to dump because there's already been so much fear? So watch your levels, right? If Tesla could reclaim 390 and we hold it on the 4-hour, then we're looking for the gap fill to 400. But if Tesla fails at 380, if it does not hold 380, we could be looking for 374 or even 368. So you want to be very, very careful. Keep in mind, Tesla dumped 6.6% yesterday on all this news, and now we're down another 4.2% in the pre-market. So we're down almost 10%, which is insane. Typically, when Tesla drops that much, you do like to bounce. That is the most typical move, that it's going to try to bounce for 390 and maybe even 400 from here, but we'll see just to be safe. I'm, once again, very, very unbiased. I like to throw my biases away because of the fact that the market is very tricky, and because we have to be very, very patient with the way in which things are moving. All right. So I hope that makes sense. We want to be very, very patient. For other tickers out there, we also have SPY. So with SPY, we already dumped so much yesterday over all this news, and we're at a support right here. So I would like to see us bounce here. There's a greater chance of that because look at the white line right here. See the white line? We bounced, bounced, bounced. We're going to see if we bounce again here. But it could go either way. Bounces are not always guaranteed. If we rebound and reclaim 668, then we're looking for that attempt for 672. But if we lose 663, then we're going to be looking for essentially the lows over here at 661 and eventually back down to 655 for a big sell off. Our range is between 668 as our resistance, and support is going to be at 663 and 661. So this is the range on SPY. Whichever way we break will determine the bigger move. So watch these levels very closely. We're going to consolidate for now until we break one of these levels. So be ready. Hopefully, we get a bounce here. I think there's a chance we try to bounce since we're holding the white trend line, but I'm unbiased. We're going to see if we could lose key support or break resistance. So watch these levels 668 and 663, whichever way we break, then look for a big move from there. All right. On the QQQ, we need to reclaim 603. If this is reclaimed, we're going to be looking for an attempt to fill the gap to 608 for a bounce. But if we lose support right here, so this is the previous support near 598. The last time the QQQ had 598, we got a monstrous bounce. So we got to bounce off this and reclaim like 603. If we do, we could be looking for a big bounce to 608. But if we end up dumping and we lose basically 598, we could be dumping to 595 or below. So you want to watch your levels just to be safe. We're in the middle, so we could be going either way. Lose 598, we're bearish, would break 603, we're looking for a bounce, but we're stuck in the middle, at least for the time being. I do think that because we're holding 598, there could be an attempt to bounce back up to 603, and then we'll see what happens at least after that. On the IWM, we have this support down here at this 233 area. Why do I say that? Because of this right here. See this wick right here? This is where the support was. We got a bounce near 233 the last time we touched it. So we got a bounce near that level. If we hold 233, I think we could try to bounce for like 236. That's going to be resistance becoming support, or support becoming resistance, excuse me. But if 231 fails us, then we could be dumping to 230 or below. So lose 231, we're bearish. I'm sorry, lose 233, then we're bearish. Excuse me. If we lose 233, we're bearish. If we hold it, we could be looking for a bounce to 236. This is showing a little bit of weakness. It might dip though. I'm a little bit in the middle with the IWM. On ES, we're trying to hold 6,700. If this holds, we're looking for 6,750. If it doesn't hold, we could be looking for a dump to 6,650 or below. We're in the dead center at 6,700 on ES. Hopefully it bounces here. We could be forming like a double bottom. Could try to bounce. We'll see about that. We're in the middle for now. NQ is showing some weakness. We're barely at 24,600. If that fails us, we could be dumping back down to 24,500 or below. But if we end up reclaiming 24,800, looking for a big bounce back up towards 24,950. So we're going to see if we get some kind of rebound or not. So watch that very, very closely. So be careful as we have this divergence right here. If we reclaim 24,800, we're looking for a big bounce. But overall, we are still stuck in the middle. For Bitcoin, we're technically on a downtrend. We're going to see if we hold 95,000 to rebound or if we continue to fall. We're stuck in the middle, so be very, very careful. If 95,000 fails us, we're looking for a bigger dump. But if it holds, we're looking for a bounce. 95,000 is the big key level. We got to hold this on Bitcoin. If we do, we could be looking for 98,000 again. Once again, for Tesla, I want to see us reclaim 390 to be bullish. But if we lose 380, we're going to be more bearish. We're in the middle, so watch your levels just to be safe. On Nvda, we're technically on a downtrend. We have resistance right here at 184 and support down here at 180. We're in the middle. Hopefully it tries to bounce back above 184 to fill this gap around 185.8. So watch your levels very closely. Aapl is technically on a downtrend. We're going to be looking for 270s, our main support and resistance at 272. Could be dipping to 269 before it attempts to bounce. So I see some weakness. Palantir, we need to get back above 168 to bounce, but if we lose 162, we're dipping. Hopefully, it tries to bounce back above that area. AMD has support at 238. We need to hold around here. If we do, we're looking for 246 again. But if we lose 238, we could be dumping back down towards 235 or below. On Coinbase, we're technically on a downtrend. We're going to see if we could reclaim like 275 to push to fill the gap to 283. But if we lose 266, we could be dumping a lot more. So we're going to see if we could reclaim support. On Amazon, if we end up losing 231, we're looking for a big dump. If we reclaim 238, we're looking for that gap fill back up to 230. 238 would be tested if we get a big bounce above 235. Let me correct myself there. But if we lose 231, we're going to be looking more bearish. It could touch 231 before it tries to bounce. I would like to see us reclaim 235 to rebound on Amazon. So we'll see if that's reclaimed. Meta dumped quite a bit, but notice it's trying to hold 600. It's actually trying to bounce. If 600 holds, we're going to be looking for an attempt to fill the gap back up to 608. But if we don't hold that area, we could be dumping back down to 595 or below. Google has some weakness right here. We could be dumping back down towards 270 if that fails, so we could be looking for 268. But if we reclaim 275, we're looking for a big rebound, so we're technically on a big downtrend, and I think there is a risk of more downside. Microsoft is also dumping right here. We're going to be looking for a move back down to 494. If we reclaim 500, we're looking for a bounce. So for now, we're favoring downside for 494. The VIX, so here's the thing about the VIX. If it rejects here, there is one thing that's concerning. That's the possibility of an inverse head and shoulders, a giant one now. But we could come down first before it tries to bounce. So we're going to see if that ends up being the case. For now, it looks to me like SPY might want to bounce here, but we need confirmation, of course, if we get back above 668. On the QQQ, I'd like to see us reclaim 603, and then we could try to bounce. And if the whole market bounces, this could benefit Tesla to some extent. Reclaim 390, but then we're looking for the gap fill above, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, guys, please watch your levels and do what you have to do. I thank you all so much for listening. It's a very tricky market, so watch your levels, and we'll see if we get some kind of bounce or not. Thank you for listening, and peace out.